Before I do that, let me introduce myself. I'm Dr. Isa Makumbi, the Director of Public Emergency Operations Center here in Uganda. And I'm a co-chair with Africa CDC, Dr. Tokmo. Dr. Tokmo I think is on. So today we have a very exciting meeting because we have two speakers who are very relevant to our AP3. The program, I hope, can everybody read the program?
Yes, perfect.
You can read the program, very good. So let me start by reading the roll call and allow me that you accept the program because it's quite tight and because of limited time, unless there's any other business, somebody can bring any other thing during that any other business item. So may I know if Argentina is in the house or is on call?
Yes, hello, good morning.
Good morning. Australia, Azerbaijan, Bangladesh. Oh, Bangladesh is not on. Okay. Belize, Canada.
Yeah, Tyler Shafrick from the Public Health Agency of Canada.
Taylor, you are welcome. Cape Verde, Denmark, El Salvador, Finland.
This is Simon Kari from the Center for Military Medicine, Finland.
Professor, you are welcome. German.
Hello, David Kuhn for the German Federal Foreign Office.
Kuhn, you are welcome. I don't know they are related to that goalkeeper. Ghana. India. Indonesia. Jordan. Kenya.
Gerita.
Kenya, you are present?
Não sei.
Kenya?
Lá está, um bocado agressivo.
Did I hear Kenya? No. Okay. Mali? Malaysia? Netherlands?
Hello, Rick Blaise, Netherlands Biosecurity Office.
Welcome. Nigeria? Nigeria must be on the way coming. Peru? Portugal?
Hi, Isabel Lopes Carvalho from National Institute of Health.
Isabel, you are welcome.
Thank
Republic of Korea? Saudi Arabia?
Hi, Dr. Isa Makumbi. This is Hanan.
You are welcome, Hanan. You are welcome, Hanan.
Yeah,
you are one of our speakers.
thank you. Yes,
Singapore,
yes. So I'm here on behalf. Yes,
going to be our host soon. Singapore, Spain, South Africa, Tanzania.
Hi, Dr. Isa. I'm Jacob Rusekero, Minister of Health, Tanzania.
Oh, Jacob, you're welcome, my neighbor. Can you call our neighbors in Kenya? I don't see them. Uganda?
Good boy.
Anybody from Uganda? Yeah?
Yes, Dr. Isa, good afternoon, and good afternoon, everyone.
Yes, Dr.
Isa. You are welcome.
Everybody. Yeah.
Uganda is Dr. Kuka on? Dr. Kuka, it's not on, okay. He's one of the people I want to introduce. United Kingdom. Anybody from United Kingdom? Ukraine?
Hi, this is Anna Prihodko from the Public Health Center of the Ministry of Health of Ukraine.
I beg your pardon? Anna, where are you from?
From
Anna?
Ukraine. Hi.
Oh, you are welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
You are welcome, excited. You are welcome. USA.
Hello everyone, Pavanagra from CDC headquarters.
You are welcome. I want to know about the international organization, ABCA, ASLAM, ASEAN, Africa CDC.
Thank you, Doctor. We are present.
Okay. CAFA, Chatham House, CRDF, FAO, IAEA, IGABOT, IFABA.
Yes, hello, Rick Bless, IHEBBR.
Welcome. IGAM, OIE, American Company, NTI, obviously, I know you. NTI, are you there? I can see you.
Hi, this is Gabby from NTI.
Unicre, Vatic.
Hi, it's Thomas from Vertic.
Oh, welcome. WHO.
Hello, I'm Kaz Kozima from WHO.
You are welcome. Okay, thank you very much. Please, if you can, those of you who know our colleagues, please give them a ring that the meeting is starting. As you are aware, last month we had a very good meeting, and one of the action points was the contribution to the community corner, and I think the date has expired, and also submitting ideas to the global webinar series meeting, and that was by June 23rd, which is today. If I don't know whether you are still in time, please, if you have something to submit for that webinar, kindly do submit. And I thank those who have already submitted. And of course, last month we had internal expert group on biosecurity and biosafety regulators, and some of you are members. And I think some of you will share some of the experience you have on that group. So today we have a very exciting speaker, Daniel Fetz, who is the chief of the ICU, that is the implementing support unit for the Biological Weapon Convention, is with us. Daniel, of course, has a lot of experience in the field of multilateral disarmament, and also has quite a number of experience in the organization of prohibition of chemical weapons, and apart from being now the chief for implementing support unit for biological weapon convention, he has been working for the prohibition of chemical weapons as a strategist and a policy advisor, and up to 2013 he was a senior policy advisor for that chemical weapon convention, where he was seeing educational and outreach activities. So our speaker today is really within, as you know, one of our objectives to see that the biological weapon convention, really we work with them to fulfill some of the aspects of the biosecurity and biosafety. So I want to welcome you, Daniel, on behalf of the AP3 members, and I give you the floor to really give us your reflection on a number of issues, the role of biosecurity within the Biological Weapon Convention, and maybe you will also say something about the April 2022 pre-con meeting and the one which is coming in November. And then when you can also tell us how we can really engage with your organization. I thank you very much, Daniel. Please take the floor.
Thank you very much, Dr. Makumbi, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen from Geneva. So I'm going to give you a presentation on the Biological Weapons Convention, particularly focusing on the upcoming meetings that we have and the meeting that we just had a month or so ago of the preparatory committee for the review conference as well. Sorry, I'm just looking for a way to share my video. Here my presentation. Here we go. My colleague Remy is also here online, so Remy will also say a few words when I'm finished with this presentation about the various activities that we're conducting around the world as well. So I'll go first, and then I'll hand over to Remy once I'm finished with this presentation. Dr. Makumbi, can you just confirm that people can see the screen, please? They can see my slides.
The chair can see it very clearly and readable.
Okay, perfect. If you can see them, I'm hoping everyone else can as well. Great, thank you.
Yes, definitely.
Perfect. Okay, I'll skip through quite a few of these at the beginning anyway, because I think most colleagues online here are very aware of the Biological Weapons Convention, what it does, what it's for and everything as well. You can see on this first slide the kind of general overview of where the convention came from, its main kind of purpose, its main objectives, and also you can see from the map the number of states parties. Now I should note, and this is obviously something that's very good news, we got a new state party to the BWC just fairly recently. It's gone up to 184 states parties now, so only 13 countries that haven't joined the BWC. The newest one which joined, which means that the map that you can see there itself needs to be updated, was Namibia. So you can see Namibia is still appearing in orange there at the moment, but Namibia should now be appearing on that map in blue as well, because they were the 184th state party to join the convention. So the BWC, as many of you will know, is a comprehensive, it's a disarmament convention, basically. It deals also with the kind of not transferring biological weapons. Article 4 of the convention requires its states parties to implement it domestically. So states parties have to take some form of national implementing measures to implement the prohibitions and the obligations of the BWC at the national level. There are also provisions there for consultations and cooperation between its states parties, for investigating alleged breaches of the convention, to assist states which may have been exposed to a biological weapons attack. And also finally at the bottom there you see Article 10, which is to do everything above in a way that encourages the peaceful uses of science and technology. The main functions of the BWC are providing a norm against the use of biological weapons. It acts as the single multilateral forum for dialogue on all of the issues relating to the convention. So that's where even issues relating to biosafety, biosecurity come into it. It supports the promotion, as I just said, of the peaceful uses of biological science and technology, and facilitates assistance and cooperation and capacity building. And I mentioned already there's a mechanism for consultation and cooperation, and also for enhancing transparency between its 184 states parties as well. Now, how the BWC works, some of you may be familiar with other international organizations, and Dr. Makumbi noted in his introduction that I used to work, for example, at the Chemical Weapons Convention Organization, the OPCW, which is in The Hague in the Netherlands. Now, it's a big organization of about 400 people, which oversees the implementation of the Chemical Weapons Convention, and also has a very intrusive verification regime. The BWC has neither. It has no international organization. It has no verification regime either. So it's really driven by its member states, we call states parties. It's up to them to translate the commitments that they take on when they join the convention into their own national jurisdictions. At the international level, it works through what we call an intersessional work program. These are annual meetings of the states parties here in Geneva. We have a series of technical meetings and a more political meeting every year. Every 5 years, we have what's called a review conference, which is what I'm really going to focus my attention on in my presentation today, because that is actually coming up later on this year. The review conference will be chaired by Ambassador Leonardo Bencini, who's the ambassador of Italy here in Geneva. You can see also some other details here. The BWC, because it has no verification regime, it has no international organization, is a fairly low cost convention. As you can see at the bottom here, the budget is about $1.5 million per year. So I mentioned about the intersessional program. We've just completed the previous intersessional program that ran from 2018. I mentioned already that every year we were having 5 separate meetings of experts. So these were the technical level meetings. You can see the different topics that they would deal with, ranging from cooperation and assistance through science and technology, national implementation, assistance, response and preparedness, to institutional strengthening of the convention as well. And then the meeting of states parties itself would take place. That's the more political meeting that would take place at the end of the year, generally in November or December. And then, as I mentioned, every 5 years, the BWC itself in its Article 12 says that there should be a review conference that reviews the operation of the convention. This was originally just meant to happen once, but every review conference has decided that another one should take place. So basically every 5 years, we've had a review conference since the very first one back in 1980. There's been a slightly longer gap this time, obviously due to the pandemic over the last few years. It wasn't possible to have meetings in 2020 and only later in 2021. So there's been some delay. It's almost been 6 years. Between between the 8th review conference, which was in 2016, and the one that's coming up towards the end of this year. And you can see also, as well as looking backwards and reviewing how the convention has worked over the previous 5 years, another important mandate for the review conference is that it should take into account any new scientific and technological developments. You can see here, I mentioned already the first review conference itself that took place way back in 1980. There have been review conferences, as you can see here. They've always taken place in Geneva. They've generally been around about 3-week-long meetings. The rules that govern the meetings have been unchanged for many years. And the budget for these meetings is paid by, nowadays is paid by all states parties to the convention. All 84 states, all 184 states parties have to pay something, but many of the states parties, because the budget is overall so small, several states parties in fact only pay about $10 or so per year. You can see here the people who have presided over each of the review conferences. One thing to point out here is that, as you can see from this, all of them so far have been men. The current president designate, Ambassador Bencini, of the upcoming 9th review conference has pointed this fact out and is very, very keen to make sure that amongst the other office holders, so the vice presidents and the chairs of the different committees, that there is a gender balance amongst the other office holders for the convention as well. Now, there's a big burden placed on every single BWC review conference because these 5 yearly meetings are the only meetings within the BWC that can actually take decisions. So it's not just that other things will continue. For example, my team and I, we have a small team in this implementation support unit, and the annual meetings, they're not permanent institutions. They will not carry on unless the review conference decides that they should be renewed. So the review conferences are particularly important, and this upcoming one is no less important than the others. The preparatory process leading up to them is also important, and Dr. Makumbe, you already referred to the preparatory committee meeting that we had. We had the first session in December of last year, and we had the second longer session a couple of months ago in April of this year as well. Now, because of the pandemic and because of other meetings being postponed, the period that we have to prepare for the upcoming review conference in November this year is much, much shorter. And there are also many other disarmament meetings going on between now and then. And at the bottom here, I flagged the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, the NPT review conference that is taking place for the entire month of August in New York. And that will occupy many people. And we are now finding at the moment that many people that will attend the BWC review conference in November, December this year do not yet have the time to focus on it at all, and probably won't have the time to focus on it until the NPT review conference finishes at the end of August, which means that we will literally only have a couple of months to prepare properly for the BWC review conference. So it's, as I said, it's an important conference, but because of the pandemic and postponed meetings, the time available to prepare is much less than we would have normally. I just mentioned about the meeting of the preparatory committee we had already back in December, which dealt mainly with organizational and procedural issues. And then in April, a much more substantive, much more in-depth, a week-long meeting that took place, which considered all provisions of the convention, which allowed all states parties to exchange views, to make statements, and which also dealt with some remaining procedural issues and issued a final report, which will soon be available in all UN languages as well. We've also, from our side as the implementation support unit, we've prepared a series of background documents. You can see the particular topics covered by those background documents listed here on this slide. These are all already available. The numbers here are the UN document symbols, they're hyperlinked. So after my presentation, I'll share a copy of it with the organizers, and hopefully they can send it around to everybody so that you can actually look at the slides and click on the links if you're interested in any of these particular documents as well. We're also working on another 4 background documents that have to be ready in time for the review conference in November. You can see what these 4 deal with here. These 4 will also be, they'll have inputs from states parties. So member states themselves are able to submit their own national inputs to these background documents, and then we put them all together and issue them, as I said, in time for the review conference itself in November. So basically, in terms of the review conference itself, obviously, like every big multilateral meeting, it's not taking place in a vacuum. So external events obviously will have an impact and will shape the dynamics and also affect the prospects for the meeting. So particularly in that regard, obviously, the Russian invasion of Ukraine back in February and the ongoing issues relating to that will obviously cause and has already been causing issues within the BWC as it has within other disarmament meetings as well. But overall, many states parties have voiced the fundamental importance of strengthening the BWC. There's a lot of proposals that have already been tabled and show some convergence on particular topics. We're also planning between now and the review conference, as well as actually preparing for the conference itself here in Geneva, we're planning a series of regional events as well. So these are maybe particularly of interest to those of you in different parts of the world who may not be able to actually travel to Geneva for the conference itself, but we will be organizing regional kind of preparatory meetings. The first one is coming up in Vienna in a couple of weeks' time, covering Europe, Central Asia, and the Middle East. We'll then be doing one in Panama for the Americas, one in Bangkok for Asia Pacific, and one in Africa for countries in that region as well. We're planning an international science and technology conference, which will hopefully be taking place around about October time in India. And we'll be doing various other meetings and events in between now and the review conference in order to make sure that people are as prepared as possible for the review conference as well. That was should be my final slide. Yeah, there's our contact details. If you want to contact us, please feel free to send us an email at bwc@un.org. Or get in touch some other way via your permanent missions, for example. Here, most countries in the world have permanent missions here in Geneva as well. I will stop there. I'm obviously very happy to respond to any comments, any questions that people have on the presentation or other issues that I didn't touch upon in the presentation. And I'll now hand over to Remy, who is going to describe some of the activities that we're conducting with, particularly with the support from the European Union. Remy, over to you.
Thanks, Daniel, and good morning, afternoon to everyone. So yeah, I'll be brief. I don't have any slides. And I think most of you know at least some of what I'm going to say. So yeah, aside from the implementation support unit business, we have voluntary contributions from a number of donors and with which we conduct activities supporting the Biological Weapons Convention. So I'll mention three such voluntary contributions that we have now. The first one is the European Union Council decision 2019-97 for its full name in support of the BWC. So this one has been around since 2019, and the end of the implementation period is early next year, 2023. So we've conducted a number of activities, and we're continuing to do so. The regional preparatory meetings that Daniel just mentioned are part of this European Council decision. We're also conducting a capacity building projects with a number of states parties under two assistance programs. One is called National Preparedness Program, and the second is called Extended Assistance Program. Well, as the name can indicate it, they have different focus, but they also have more commonalities, which is strengthening the national capacities to implement the convention in all its aspects. So to mention just a few countries we're working in, we are currently working, and our project involved some of the colleagues here in the call. We're working with Botswana currently towards implementation of the convention, and Vertic, and I know Thomas is here, is providing under this project legislative assistance. Actually, also in a couple of weeks' time, a drafting workshop will take place in a hybrid way. We're also working with Sri Lanka right now towards the establishment of a national inventory of dangerous pathogens, and this is conducted by Rick here in the call from the Dutch Biosafety office. We're also working with the State of Palestine for the national implementation of the convention. We just conducted an awareness raising event yesterday, and Vertic also is providing legislative assistance to the State of Palestine. Other state parties with which we have worked under this project include Fiji and Nigeria. And one of our objectives of all those projects is to increase the number of confidence building measures submitted, and we're quite happy to obtain good results overall on that front. For instance, Botswana have submitted its first CBM report about 2 months ago. So that's for the capacity building project. We also have youth activities. Youth activities have been presented in this group several times already. So I don't want to enter that much into detail. I think you're all familiar with that. And a lot of people in the call are alumni from our own initiative. So that's always great to see you in the list of participants. But we have the Youth for Biosecurity initiative that we started in 2019. It has been mainly a biosecurity diplomacy workshop for young scientists from the Global South that we've conducted in 2019, 2021, and 2022. We've partnered with NTI Bio, with iGEM, with the IFBA, with the LB fellows as well from Johns Hopkins University. So that's really a partnership also with a number of state parties and NGO representatives. We're continuing those efforts. As I said, we had an awareness raising event for the State of Palestine for young scientists, young students there, to which NTI, iGEM participated as well. We also had the same event, same kind of event for Kenya about 3 months ago. Same participants as well. That's really a collective event, and the aim is really to give opportunities to young people to know how they can get involved in global biosecurity. So we're continuing toward this objective with our partners. And right now, what we're planning is an online event for youth before the review conference. So we'll also share more information with this group in due time. And we still have the youth declaration, which were presented in this working group before, which is open for endorsement. We're also planning to release a national implementation guide for the BWC, which should be released in the coming months. And we'll communicate also about that. We believe it's going to be a good resource for all states parties looking for support to implement the convention that's coming. We're continuing activities on universalization. As Daniel mentioned, we had good results recently with Namibia joining the convention. So we're continuing and we're on that good momentum. And that's pretty much it under the current EUCD. As I said, this EUCD will end in 2023, and we hope that the EU will continue its support. The EU has been supporting the BWC since 2006, so we believe we have a chance to continue such activities and develop them even further from 2023 onward. We also have another European Union Council decision, which is run in parallel with the one I've just mentioned. And it's for 2 years. It started already. Recruitment for that EUCD is ongoing, almost done. And it will focus on 4 projects. The first one is the implementation and universalization of the convention in Africa. For that specific project, we are recruiting a colleague who will be based in Addis Ababa, and we will be in charge of our activities in the region under that project. We'll also have events for the national contact points of the BWC in all states parties, so some conference organized to strengthen the capabilities as NCP and also network. We will have, and Daniel already mentioned it, an SNT, Science and Technology Conference before the RevCon happening. So more information on that will be communicated soon. And we'll also reinforce the concept of peer review exercise under the BWC, gathering information about the previous exercises conducted, and doing some thinking and structuring on this specific type of activities. So that's it on the EUCD. We'll have an opening event, of course, when all our colleagues are recruited, and we hope to have you around the table so we can discuss those opportunities. A very last and quick mention of the Global Partnership Signature Initiative project that we will also be starting soon. That's a project that we will run with our partners from Africa, which aims at strengthening the implementation of the BWC in Africa with a lot of activities upcoming, in particular legislative assistance available. And this is ongoing. This is, as many of you know, led by our colleague Alex Lempalzer. We're also recruiting more colleagues on that, and that's an exciting opportunity for the African region and African states parties. So that's it. Just as a conclusion, maybe just say that as you've heard, we are doing everything really in a collaborative way. We've partnered for the capacity building assistance project. We've partnered for our youth project with states parties, with non-civil organization. We'll continue to do so. So please, if you have any interest, feel free to contact us, and we'll be happy to collaborate on everything that's coming. Yeah, that's it for me. Over to you, Daniel.
Thank you very much, Remy. Thank you very much, Remy, for those comprehensive activities which is your organization is undertaking. They're very exciting. Because of time, I will only request for only 3 interventions or 2. But one of the things to appreciate your coming, you can give us the timetable for pre-preparation meeting so that we can put it on our agenda here, people, because we have many people from all those regions you mentioned for those regional pre-prepared meeting, so they can know when to attend. I thank you very much. Can I request for 2 or 3 interventions by show of hands? But otherwise, already people I see on the chat, they have appreciated the presentation very, very well. Anybody with clarification or question, members?
I have a raised hand. O'Neill.
Yeah, yes, O'Neill, I saw you. You want to add or you want to ask?
No, just wanted to add something. Of course, picking up on Remy's point about effective collaboration, just wanted to mention, of course, that we're looking, certainly with the Global Affairs Canada funded program, looking at meeting strategic trade legislative concerns and putting in place regulatory infrastructure. A core part of this, as you know, is also focuses on biosecurity and writ large on the implementation of the BWC. So that is one of the core areas that we are really pushing and working in a very, very focused and complementary way with BWC ISU. And just to flag, as you know, ISSA, the initiative on the horizon, 19th to the 21st of July in Kampala. And a part of this, of course, would also have some of these themes in focus. And so BWC strengthening is also a major focal component of the discussions. And this also will obtain for the other beneficiary states in the EAC as well as in SADC.
Okay. Thank you very much, Odile. Thank you very much. I think let me usher in our next speaker, none other than Hanan, our Global Strategic Preparedness Network, who's going to tell us about the topic, that is the Global Strategic Preparedness Network. Also reflect on the newsletter and some of the meetings which she's anticipating. So, Hanan, please, can you take the floor?
Thank you, Dr. Makumbi, and thank you to the organizers for today's meeting, and thank you for the Action Package members for attending today's session. Today I'll be speaking, so just an introduction about me. I'm from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, but I'm representing the Task Force on Action Package Coordination. It's one of the 4 task forces in the GHSA, and our role is really to help support the action packages. We have 9 of them, and to help guide, to help support, and to help coordinate the work of all the action packages. One of the things that came across our agenda a few months ago was the idea of the Global Strategic Preparedness Network that's being developed by WHO. What I can say is I'm not here today to represent WHO. I have been given permission to share the slides, and I've shared them earlier with the action package leads. But today I'm sharing with you the concept of GSPN, to share with you the slides, the concept, to talk a little bit about how the action package can benefit from joining the GSPN, and talking about leveraging the partnerships for implementation of national action plans or any types of countrywide health security efforts. Do we have? Okay, excellent. I see them from my end. Perhaps, so as I mentioned earlier, I'm in no way representing WHO, but I have been given permission by Mr. Ludi Suryantoro to share the slides with the action packages as a way to share the information and to get the discussion going. So the idea is that our task force would be working with the GHSA, a chair, to kind of leverage the work around global health security agenda, and so that the global health security agenda can be part of this network. So we're really aiming to join the network for benefits that would help all the action packages and all members of the GHSA. Next slide. So if we think about our world today, we've realized that, even before COVID, but I think it was more apparent with COVID, our healthcare systems have been disrupted. We have lost lots of revenue, lots of years of development, as we've seen with the Sustainable Development Goals and with other global initiatives. And one of the things that was very challenging as healthcare professionals and public health professionals to rebuild the system that has been destroyed is to really identify individuals who can help build the system. Identify individuals who have the technical expertise to do so. And I'm sure many of us are challenged on a daily basis, whether we need to find experts in biosecurity, biosafety, biosecurity, or laboratory systems, or in the surveillance area. It's really hard to identify technical experts for very specific areas who have worked in specific regions. And so the idea or the aim of the Global Strategic Preparedness Network is to support the implementation of national priorities of health security plans through a WHO vetted partner network. So this would be a network that includes technical experts from around the world in specific areas who have fulfilled specific criteria and who have been vetted by WHO in specific areas. So this work has been adopted by the World Health Assembly, and it encourages and promotes the sharing of information about technical collaborations through the GSPN, which is the network. Next slide. So if we think about the WHO monitoring and evaluation framework, there was an opportunity for more than 70 countries that have developed their national action plans for health security. And I'm sure many of you are actively involved in this and have been in the development for your own countries. So the WHO had developed a resource map. And what they came out with was that there was a lack of human resources that's needed to implement certain priorities identified by countries. And we realized, or WHO realized through this evaluation framework, was that no one institution can provide the necessary technical assistance alone. We need to have partners who can help us in our journey. Next slide. So this is an example of the evaluation framework exercise that took place in Africa. And I think at the very right-hand side of the screen, you can also see one that took place in Indonesia. But the idea here was that they started to map out the human resources for each of the countries in very technical, very specific technical areas with the aim of implementing the national action plans. Next slide. And what they've realized through this mapping was that there's a shortage of expertise at the country level needed to implement many of these national action plans. So you see an example here on Côte d'Ivoire and Namibia. So there was a certain amount of technical resources dedicated to identify technical experts in these areas. And what they found, for example, in Namibia, there's technical assistance needed in the areas of AMR, laboratory, national legislation, points of entry, and surveillance. And this can overlap, for example, with Côte d'Ivoire, which needs technical assistance in surveillance, zoonotic diseases, medical countermeasures, and national legislation. So you see that there is a difference in the need or the technical assistance needed for each of the countries. So no one country is the same. Next slide. So if you're familiar with GORN, GORN is a network that engages staffs and resources from partner institutions to support countries in the control of disease outbreaks or public health emergencies. So this would be similar to GORN, but rather than focus on emergencies and public health emergencies as GORN does, the GSPN would focus on implementation of the national action plans to strengthen systems. So, you know, this is not waiting for a disaster to happen. This is rather being proactive and just trying to implement the national action plans and identify the technical assistance needed. Next slide, please. So GSPN has a few objectives. I won't go through these in detail, but the first one focuses on leveraging the network partnership model in support for countries. So really, you know, to partner through programs, through exchange visits, through knowledge exchange. The second objective is to strengthen coordination and collaboration and alignment among technical partners. And then finally is to promote advocacy and communication activities to build understanding of the needed technical assistance in that area or in that country. Next slide. The GSPN principles include promoting multi-sectoral action. As we've seen, for example, with One Health, it's not a one sector approach. We need multiple sectors involved beyond health. So taking that approach. Another approach is solidarity. So the GSPN would promote the sharing of experiences and expertise across countries. And then there's the continuous learning. So there's a platform that will be developed to share tools, best practices, stories of success, and lessons learned. And then finally, the GSPN will be based on a multi-stakeholder collaboration that supports countries and individuals and institutions at the country level, the regional level, as well as the global level. Next slide. So for the next few slides, I'll provide a very high level overview on how the GSPN is structured. There's a steering committee, There are 4 work streams that include technical assistance and operational support, partnership and advocacy, monitoring and evaluation and accountability, and preparedness, response, and recovery. So these are namely working groups or work streams, and they would work or fall under the GSPN Secretariat, who would basically facilitate a lot of the work from the global level and into the countries. Next slide. So this gives a history of how the GSPN was developed. So the process started back in 2019, and due to time constraints, we won't go over these, but I'm happy to share the slides afterwards. But the idea is that it started in 2019 and it continued to develop. And the GSPN has not been officially launched yet. They're in the process of identifying partners to join, but hopefully the final official launch date would be, or month would be, October later this year, so October 2022. Next slide. So GSPN would generally better be utilized if it comes at the very beginning of the country's progress to help support them in their efforts to strengthen preparedness. So this is giving you an example of, how Chad scored in the JEE and what are some of the technical assistance needed. GSPN would reach out to their network to see how we can fill the gaps with the technical expertise needed. And, through support and through training and through, perhaps exchange visits or partnerships, Chad in this case would be able to increase their scores based on the information and based on the technical assistance and the network that was provided by GSPN. Next slide. So I know the colleagues in WHO are working really hard to bring in as many key partners as possible to this network, and they've done an amazing job, even way before the launch. So there are 59 multi-sectoral partners who have joined GSPN thus far, which include 185 organizations, including the military and the private sector, as well as government sectors. There are 52 networks. So if we think about all the networks that we're involved in as public health professionals, most of them have joined GSPN. And then 125 countries or governments, so ministries of health, centers for disease controls, national institutes of health, and other relevant institutions. And some of the examples of technical areas that are supported include surveillance, the national laboratory systems, immunization, workforce or human resource development, legislation, policy, and financing. And on the list here, you can also see that there are possible GSPN matching partners for each of these areas. Now, these areas are just examples. Of course, we can move beyond and expand this in relation to global health and global health security. Next slide. So this slide is mainly showing the WHO requirements for how an organization can join the GSPN. So for us at the GHSA specifically, our task force on action package coordination will be working with the GHSA chair to look at the administrative process. But right now we're in the process of obtaining input from the action packages to see if they're interested in joining. We have 9 action packages, as I mentioned earlier, and I so far have confirmation from 4 of them to join the GSPN. And so today, hopefully, after this, I was told by the action package leads that we will be doing a bit of a discussion or voting to see if the members of this action package would like to join their colleagues in the GSPN. Next slide. So this is a diagram or a few photos of how GSPN can provide country support. The request is made, then there's a matching process, the technical assistance that's needed with the gaps that need to be filled. Sometimes there's educational materials that are sent or webinars hosted or workshops. And then there's an opportunity to kind of look at a plan to move forward with implementation and with planning, etc. Next slide. As I mentioned earlier, the process has been going on for now a few years. And finally, in October of 2022, the GSPN network would be officially launched. Next slide. So in summary, there's a strong need for collective and coordinated action to strengthen many of our health preparedness efforts and to really help build public health capacities in our countries. And I look forward to hearing your input and your thoughts and comments and questions on the GSPN. And if your country has already joined, because some of the countries have already joined the GSPN, so it would be a good opportunity to tap in through the country resources and also through the action package. So this concludes the presentation for today, and I welcome questions and comments.
Thank you very much, Anan. You know, this is something being developed by WHO, and WHO is us. So I don't know whether we have an option whether to become members, or is it this going to be outside WHO framework, because we are the WHO. So if it's WHO, we are all members, but you can maybe throw more light on, and those members who have joined, what extra added value is there. But I know when they launch it, I think all member states should be part of that movement, but maybe you can throw more light. We have very little time. Maybe let me ask members to give us a few feedback to you, if there is any.
Sure.
Let me say, I don't. Go ahead,
maybe
go ahead.
Dr. Makumbi, in response to your questions, absolutely. I don't know about the voting, if it's going to be anonymous or not. So you might have a choice there to join or not. But in terms of the members who have already been recruited, in terms of countries, there's 125 that's listed. So I think the number of member countries, I believe, and you're better versed at this, I think it's 194, 196 at WHO. So that's pretty much a good chunk of the member states. And the program hasn't been officially launched yet. So I think it's pretty good that they've reached 125. So that's in terms of the countries. At this point, we would be joining as the Global Health Security Agenda. So we're not necessarily a government, we're an initiative. So I think it's a bit tricky there. But what I can say, for example, is, you know, some of the member countries, some of the action package members in other action packages have joined through their governments, but they also would like to participate through the GHSA. So for example, I can give you an example of the legal preparedness action package. It's being led by the US and Argentina, and they're very active with the Global Health Security Agenda. And they want to join the GSPN as it would elevate their work through the GHSA. And they're also part of other public health networks who have also joined GSPN. So in this case, just to summarize, in this case, we would be joining as the GHSA.
Oh, okay, so that's very, very clear. Thank you very much. Gabi, can you organize, we vote quickly and so that Anna goes with some answers. Are we joining? Who are abstaining? Who are joining? Can you organize that quickly, please? Because we are left with 1 minute according to the official time. But I know we started late. I would beg 5 to 8 members, please bear with me. Can members, please, only members of AP3, just answer quickly? Yes, no, abstain. Please go. I'm giving you only half a minute to do that. Members, Gabi, are you receiving feedbacks? Are you receiving?
Hi, so this is Jacob. I can see the back end. We've received 13 votes so far, and there are 36 people on.
Please, members, whatever you are there, abstaining also, that is important. Yes or no? Please be quick. Time, actual time is over, but I requested for another 5 minutes. Jacob, how many have you received?
19.
If you have
so
received the 30,
we've just crossed into 20.
I need about, okay, can we, if I get 28 or 30, we close. Once you are at 30, you close.
Understood.
So as you do that, and I think global security will end 2025. Do you think, because some of the objectives are very similar to global security, is this something which is going to take over the global security project? Anan, do you have an idea? After
I'm
2024?
I'm not familiar with that project. You mean the extension of GHSA beyond 2024?
Yeah, GHSA is 2024.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So we've had a steering member committee meeting. I believe it was earlier this week. And members are still deciding whether to extend the GHSA beyond 2024. So there is no official response to extend or not to extend, but it's in the process of being discussed.
Okay, thank you. Jacob, where are you? Are you okay now?
We still only have 20 votes, so if we can leave it open for a few more seconds, but
how many people attended? How many people attended, Jacob?
we have 35 people on the line.
No. That includes the visitors, I think. And international organizations will not vote. It's only the member states.
I don't have an easy way to break that out. Taking a quick look, I think probably
so
33 without international organizations that we're presenting.
Okay, you as the chair of the Electoral Commission, what is your verdict? Join, not join?
There's a clear, here, I'll end the poll. 10 seconds left for anyone still wishing to vote. And
so there's a question from Rick. What is the website of the Global Strategic Preparedness Network? I can share the slides. I'm not familiar if they have.
Yeah, we shall share this slide. Please, and then share them. We shall share it with the members. Yeah, we shall share it with members if you give it to us. So I think, Jacob, can you declare?
so the results should be displayed on your screens. We had 19 votes in favor.
I don't see them. I don't see them, Jacob. I don't see them, Jacob. Where are they?
They should have popped up on your screen. We've had 19 yes votes and 2 abstentions for a total of 21 votes.
Okay, I think the majority of members, Anan, we are going to join. And when you give us that slide of how to join, we shall be able to make sure that we join the GSPN. So thank you very much, our coordinator for Task Force on Action Package Coordination, Anan. That was wonderful. I think you have educated us and you are very clear. And Daniel, thank you very much. And you have told us how we are really going to, how our package can really work with your convention, biological weapon convention, and we are ready to work with you all the way. There is one item on the agenda. Jacob, who is doing that? Intervention from USA.
Gabby, I'll defer to you. I think we may have rearranged the end of the agenda since we were running long. Gabby, do you want to?
Yes.
Can we defer that?
Yes, we're going to defer that to next month.
Okay, thank you very much. So allow me, just 1 minute is left for what I requested. Allow members to thank you very much, and our visitors for the eloquence you have and the clear presentation. I saw on the chat, the members were very happy for what you have shared with us and your reflections and guidance. We are very, very grateful to you. I thank you very much. And members of AP3, please remember that when we have no time for you to present what is going on. When you present, please always what is going in your country, please attach it to our strategic objective of our plan so that we know
strategic objective you are addressing, and that will be very clear. Even in when you are contributing to the corner, please do that so that we know which strategic objective is being addressed more than the other. I thank you very much, and I thank you, visitors. The meeting is adjourned.